everyone. This is Rosemary Coates. I'm your host for Rethink Reshoring, and I'm very happy to welcome my guest this week, Jerry Briones, who is the Executive Director and CEO at Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation. So welcome, Jerry.
Well, thank you, Rosemary. It's a pleasure to be here. And just to clarify a little bit, I'm the interim.
Interim. All right.
Yes.
Well,
So
yeah, you got all the responsibilities so
just got to
far.
make that little distinction in case my boss hears it.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So,
Thank
Jerry,
you.
we're very interested in reshoring, of course, and looking at the potential possibilities for bringing manufacturing either back to the U.S. or nearshoring to bring things into the U.S. And most often that's nearshoring is Mexico, of course. And so Brownsville is very important, an area and a border crossing that's been very important for a long time and getting more important every single day. And so we would like to chat a little bit today about Brownsville and the sister city Matamoros in Mexico and what's happening in the area. So can you give us a general overview of Brownsville, the Brownsville area, and the important border crossing?
Sure, I would love to. So Brownsville, I guess our slogan, and for some obvious reasons I'll go into, is on the border by the sea and beyond. Of course, beyond is a little company we have here called SpaceX. But we are a border community with Matamoros, Tamaulipas. We have a very close relationship with Tamaulipas and Matamoros. Our counterparts over there are CODEM and Index, the Association of Maquiladoras. We like to say that we have 5 different modes of transportation, which is obviously interstate. We have a port, the Port of Brownsville, which is one of the busiest in Texas. They do over 52 million tons of cargo a year. That was last year. They're looking to surpass that this year. So we do have quite a bit of border crossings. In fact, we have 3 bridges, and for 2023 so far, we've done over 4.3 million crossings from the U.S. to Mexico, with 7.1 million crossings from Mexico into the United States, which makes us the 6th busiest port or bridge crossings in the U.S. So that's pretty exciting. Our free trade zone is the 2nd busiest in Texas. We do a lot of 90% of our cargo goes into Mexico, Monterrey, whether by ship, whether by rail. We have BRG rail that is here at the port. They connect to UP. They do, so far this year, they've done over 42,000 full and empty crossings. I think one of the biggest things that they're working on is obviously they only get to use that crossing 12 hours a day. So the port and BRG are in negotiations right now with UP to try to move that to about 24 hours to be able to get some additional crossings in, because a lot of time is spent on cargo alone, just filling up those vehicles. So our sister city, Matamoros, has over 500,000 in total population, with a workforce of over 200,000. In Brownsville, our population is about 186,000. We have a unemployment rate of 6.1, but we're making big strides into getting that further down. We've got a lot of initiatives on workforce development, on different programs that we're doing with employers. So our median age is 29 and a half. So we're a young community. You can go anywhere in town in less than 30 minutes, and our average salary is about $13.99 per hour. So it's a great place to do business, and hopefully we can tap into this reshoring.
Yeah, those are all great indicators. So a low cost environment. The wage rates are reasonable. You've got a lot of a lot of emphasis being placed on development in that area. Is there new money coming in to enhance the bridge crossings or the roads in that area? Do you know if there's money in the infrastructure bill for that?
Uh, yeah, in fact, one of the bridges recently, and that was November of last year, received I think 130 million, and that was the Brownsville Matamoros Bridge, probably the oldest bridge in. Well, it is the oldest bridge. I think it was built in 1910, and so there's some money that was allocated there. There's going to be some. There's actually work going on already, and then the Veterans Bridge, which on the Mexican side is called Los Tomates, also had an infusion of millions of dollars as well to widen some lanes and add some additional lanes. In fact, they went from 4 lanes to 8 lanes. So, and that one has security, the fast track security, so you can come in. Trucks coming in don't have a long wait, but it is some things that we're doing also. And then we recently got a heavyweight corridor that leads from a industrial park we're developing, 719 acres, that is 7 miles from the port of Brownsville. So it comes right through there. It's a heavyweight corridor, connects with the interstate and goes north or goes south, depending on which way it's going. So that we've gotten some money to do that as well. And then we've got some money that actually extended the heavyweight corridor to go straight into the Veterans Bridge as well. So yeah, so we've reaped some benefits, thank God.
So, and I have a lot more questions for you about the whole
Sure.
development in the whole area. But before we move on, you mentioned SpaceX. So, have they established in the Brownsville area? Can you talk a little bit about SpaceX?
Of course, they are very well established. They've been here for multiple years now. There's some pictures, and I'm sorry I don't have them or I can share, but I can send them to you later. Where they first started, and there was nothing but green field, and there was a couple of tents that they had set up, and now totally different. Looks like a small community. They're actually finishing off a 300,000 square foot facility that they're going to be moving into, which of course is Starbase, and that's going very well. They had 3 tents, big tents, where they were working out of, and they've already taken down 2 of those tents. So they've got one more to go, and then they'll move into that brand new building here in the next couple of months. They've 98% of the rocket that is launched from Boca Chica Beach down about 20 minutes from my office is built in Brownsville. The 2% is the rocket is built out of Hawthorne, and it's all built locally. I mean, local employment. Obviously, they've had to bring in their management and their trainers and everything else, but there are over 2,000 employees over there right now. So it's they're not going anywhere. They're great. They pumped into our downtown renovation center, $2 million. So our downtown is getting some facelifts. We've got some brand new restaurants. We've got some new entertainment centers. It's really looking very very nice downtown, and they also created some funding for our local CTE programs at the high school level. So yes, they've been a great partner. They're as far as I can tell, they're not going anywhere, and we're not going to let them go anywhere.
Oh, that's great. That's great. How exciting to have that kind of technology close by. So
It
Brownsville,
is pretty exciting.
yeah. So Brownsville has port, ocean port capability, truck
Yes,
capability.
ma'am.
How about rail?
We
How
do
about
have
rail?
rail. Yep, we have rail that is, and I was trying to. It comes in on a kind of on a greenfield spot just south of Rancho Viejo, in north of Brownsville, still within our city limits. But there's not an actual location I can tell you. It's right here. But it crosses from Mexico, crosses into the U.S., and then goes straight to the Brownsville and Rio Grande railway, which then goes out to the port and then connects to the port, and a lot of tonnage goes out of there. So our new industrial park is actually right in the path of that rail. So one of the things we have already in our conceptual design is rail spurs that will be tied into the light and heavy manufacturing areas of our industrial park. So, and that rail goes back out to Mexico. It goes north, actually in different ways. It goes north. So yes, we have rail. We have a company in Matamoros which produces the wind blades, as well as the turbine units underneath and everything. And those are sent by rail, by 16-wheeler, and also via ocean aircraft, ocean vessel. Excuse me, sorry about that. So we send them all over the world. They go. Our port is global, so they go all over. But yes, we do have a very good rail system.
Wow. Wow, it's pretty spectacular, all the capabilities in Brownsville. What new projects are on the horizon for commercial development in the area?
Well, aside from our what we call the World Trade Center San Luis Potosí, because they're developers that we're working with, that 719 acres. We're in pre-development already. We're kind of getting things kicking off. That's going to have commercial. That's going to have some retail. We're looking at possibly putting a hotel in there. It looks great. The conceptual design is really nice. I'll send that to you. But what has really started things rocking over the last couple of days, and in the last couple of days I've received I don't know how many phone calls from realtors, is that Next Decade LNG, which is owned by Rio Grande LNG, announced on Thursday that they received their first phase funding of $11.4 billion to build out 4 trains of liquefaction for natural gas. That's a huge project. I think it's been in the works something like 20 years. And, Next Decade is stuck with their guns, and they've gone through all kinds of legal ramifications. They've gone through all kinds of environmentals, and they've done a great job. And now they're coming to Brownsville. So we're already seeing those calls where, hey, how much land do you have? Where can we want to buy some property at your industrial park. We want to get down here. We're already looking at how we work with their workforce to produce 5,000 employees over a 5 to 7 year period, with 300 to 400 employees, permanent employees after that, after those first 3 trains are completed. So it's getting very excited. We had Select USA back in August of last year, March of last year, and we had 7 different European companies come down from Romania, as well as from Japan, from China, the UK. I'm still working with one of them, and so that's been great. We've also have had some other interest from companies that are just not so much from reshoring, but just they understand that Brownsville is a good place to do business. So they're looking at relocating a couple other companies from Mexico into the U.S. And we're looking at companies that are already based in the U.S. that are looking at Brownsville as well. One of the great things we have is that we don't have a shortage of water. Many years ago, the city of Brownsville, or the Brownsville Public Utilities Board, had this great idea to do a desalination plant. So we pull brackish water out of the ground, they desal it, and that's about 30% of our water. So we've been very forward thinking. They're working on new projects to make sure that we continue having a good water supply. So we're on the ball.
Ah, that's terrific. That's terrific. So you had mentioned some things about the development. I mean, it sounds like the whole border is really hopping around in Brownsville, and that's great. So how is USMCA, the trade agreement that replaced NAFTA, how has that changed the border crossings and the commerce with Mexico? Are you seeing development on both sides of the border because of the USMCA trade agreement?
You know, we have very good relations with our counterparts in Matamoros, Tamaulipas. So we discussed this, and we discussed this with our Port of Brownsville friends over there. And what we've seen is actually we've seen a great amount of interest. We've seen momentum. We've seen where the questions are coming. However, we really haven't seen that explosion or companies saying we're here because of the USMCA. I think they understand that Brownsville has always been a good spot to do business. We've got 12 industrial parks in actually over 12 industrial parks in Matamoros. We've got industrial parks here. We're heavily invested in supply chain, logistics. So we really haven't seen that tying to USMCA. We know that there's interest, but in all honesty, we just haven't seen it take off or. And then the other thing is we don't have the data yet that we can say, yes, it's happening because of this. I think it's just an overall, just doing business in the U.S. I think one of the things that has helped us is obviously the Infrastructure Jobs Act, and then the other is the Clean Jobs and Innovation Act, where we get a lot of companies looking to do clean energy, hydrogen, ammonia, those kinds of projects, solar power. So I think it's just we probably need a little bit more into the weeds to get some data, but we haven't seen it yet, to be honest with you.
Well, at the Reshoring Institute, we're seeing a lot of companies that are interested in leaving China and setting up operations in other parts of the world and very heavily emphasizing Mexico. So, an awful lot of companies want to start sourcing in Mexico and bringing their goods across the border. If they're produced, they're the product and the labor of Mexico and bringing them into the U.S. duty free, right, under USMCA. So that gives a real advantage. Have you seen any development of companies locating into Mexico, into Matamoros, for example, that are strictly there because they're trying to bring goods into the U.S. under USMCA?
I think not so much under USMCA, or at least talking to my counterparts over there, they haven't really gathered that data. They've had some investment already, and I think this company was just more than anything just interested in setting up in Matamoros. This was maybe about a month ago. Obviously, I can't say the name of the company or anything, but I do know that they are working with our counterparts in Matamoros. I wish I could say it's because of USMCA that they're coming, but I would be lying to you if I told you that the data supports it because we
Yeah.
we don't have it,
Well,
unfortunately.
yeah, well, we are seeing this phenomenon happening at other border crossings like Otay Mesa and San Diego. For example, there's a lot
Right.
of Chinese companies that have set up along the border to manufacture in Mexico and then bring things into the U.S. So maybe just a matter of time till you see it everywhere. But I think there's
Yeah, and
there's so much
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't
there's so
cut
much
you off. Go
interest
ahead.
in bringing manufacturing into Mexico because of so many advantages in terms of labor and proximity to the market and so forth. So I think the cross border commerce is um, destined to grow enormously over the next decade or so.
Yeah, and I
Um,
totally agree with you. Yes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say yes. You're right. Totally agree with you, and just tell them there's a Matamoros and Brownsville down here.
okay, okay. Um, so I want to ask a question about the truckers crossing the border and bringing goods into the U.S. and because FreightWaves TV has a lot of followers and people that are interested in the trucking industry in America, and this has been an issue for quite some time. And restricting Mexican truck drivers and how far they can come into the country. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works?
Um, so that, I just had this conversation not too long ago with some of the several companies, and the biggest, obviously wait times are something that every bridge has. Customs, you know, CBP, they're great. They work very closely with our bridges and with the Port of Brownsville. And I think the biggest hurdle right now is not something that we can handle here locally. Unfortunately, it is more on the political side. It is more on the you know things that are a little out of our control. And I think you hit it on the nail there when you said, not being able to drive all the way into the U.S. A lot of trucks, not a lot, but there's trucks that don't pass inspection at the bridge. So those tend to hold things up quite a
They
bit as
don't
well.
pass If they don't pass inspection on the bridge, then they're not allowed to come into the U.S. Is that right?
That's that's
Okay. And
correct.
if they
Yes.
do,
So
if they
we're
do
we're,
come,
we're working very closely with all the authorities on that. Sorry.
okay, and if they do come into the U.S., they're restricted to a certain number of miles, like 20 miles or something into the U.S.
Yes,
Is that right?
that's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But we are
Okay.
we are trying to work with the federal transportation department, the state, the local tech dot. So we're trying to see what we can do to help.
Okay. So, if you thinking about the operation, so a truck driver might haul a load from Mexico, maybe a manufacturing site near Matamoros, and then bring it into the U.S. and they're allowed to drive a few miles. And what do? They drop off the load, or they cross dock it, or what happens?
Yeah, they do, and a lot of times Brownsville has both companies that are situated in the U.S. side in Brownsville as well as Matamoros. So a lot of times that truck will sometimes come in from a company that's already in Brownsville. So those loads come across pretty quickly. And if not, like you said, they're transloaded onto a different vehicle, or the trailer is they'll either go to the port or they'll go to their parent company that is possibly here in Brownsville, and then it's picked up by a U.S. based truck driving. So so yeah, it is a smooth. Well, I wouldn't call it smooth, but it is doable, and it is where our exporters and our importers and our logistics company understand. They've been here for many years. They understand the process. They understand the challenges, and my hats off to them because they make it work.
That's terrific. Okay. Well, I think it's good news. There's a build up of new energy all along the border and the ability to bring things into the U.S. So it benefits both the border towns on both sides in Mexico and the U.S. and the trucking industry in the U.S. as well, who can then pick up loads from the
Yes,
border
ma'am.
cities like Brownsville and further transport those goods into the U.S. Well, Jerry, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. You have any last comments or things to add?
Well, I would just say that if you're looking to set up along the border, look us up. Feel free to give me a call. We do tours of the port. We will take you out to the unrestricted areas of SpaceX, where you can actually take a picture next to a rocket that's under construction, that's being repaired, whatever the case may be. Obviously, our port people are great. We when we do a prospect visit, we include everyone in our area. We bring in the port people, the rail people, our counterparts from Mexico, and we give you an overall view of everything we can do for you. And of course, being the type A, if your company wants to set up in the U.S. side, we'll help you along the way as well. So, give me a call. We'll make it work.
Terrific. Well, thank you. And thank you to all the listeners out there today. You can look forward to our podcast or video cast next week on contract manufacturing in America. And our show is available on YouTube and on FreightWaves.com and wherever you pick up your podcasts or your video casts. Now, thank you all for listening today. Have a great day.